Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Viz Review Live session with Chimdi and I. My name is Zainab, and we've started this to give feedback to people so that we can help them to kind of grow and learn and just inspire and teach others as well, because feedback really helped us in our journey. And so, Viz Review Live is like a bi-weekly session where we kind of just review visualizations that we have been tagged in. I am currently based in London, and I'll pass it over to Chimdi for a quick intro. But before that, I wanted to say we actually have a YouTube channel where we've started to upload some past recordings there. So definitely check that out, Viz Review Live. Some of the past sessions that we've had are on there, and there's definitely lots of learnings and lots of like tips and tricks. So 100% recommend. Okay, over to you, Chimdi.
Awesome. Awesome. Great introduction. My name is Chimdi. I'm based in British Columbia, Canada. I've been a part of the data fam now, I guess like 6 years, and that's how long I've been practicing data. And so, like Zainab mentioned, one thing that really helped us when we started was getting to engage with the community and have that feedback given to us. And so we thought it would make sense to do something similar, help those coming in, have discussions, and just kind of look at the different ways of storytelling that kind of align with what we considered like good. So we hope to bring some value here, and thanks for joining.
Thank you. Okay, I am going to attempt to share my screen. Let's see. Let me know when you can see. Perfect.
Yep, all
Uh,
good.
I'm just gonna bring this call back so that I see you as well. Okay, lovely. So this is the first Viz for today. Hue actually tried to join the call the last time. Unfortunately, we had to cancel, and so she reached out to me on Slack. So I just wanted to say thank you for joining. But yeah, Chimdi, I think you can do the honors and kick us off with this one.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I think I actually know Hui as well. She's recently just everywhere. So I think this
Nice.
is amazing.
Yeah.
Just looking at this, it's very clear. So it's like the greenhouse performance dashboard. The layout really is just really clean to me. Like just the left, the title is clear. You've got the overview with some text there and some summary chart there. And it looks like we have some buttons that we can click through. That's a really great design for
Mhm.
clicking through that stuff. And so this project, if I'm not mistaken, this actually I think is one of the data change makers projects that was recently
Right.
posted. And so this dashboard is actually something that's meant to be impactful and communicative to specific audiences. And it looks like it's done that really well. And so we have an overview of, the greenhouse performances, with the greenhouses, the crop seasons, the farmers, and it gives the introduction of what the viz actually needs to show. And so after we click the overview, we go to the crop season. Do you mind clicking that?
Yeah.
And it looks like here we have charts related to crops by season, seasons by category. So everything to do with the crops. I like this section is also very clean. The one thing that does stand out to me is like the bars, very effective in highlighting things. The heat map, wonderful. But the first thing that jumps out is the first two charts have labels. The third one doesn't have labels. The fourth one
Right.
doesn't have labels, and then the fifth one does. The
Okay.
one thing I would say here, which could really improve this, just put labels everywhere, especially since we want it to stand out quickly. So that's my one. It's not necessarily, but either just remove all labels or show all labels. That's what I'll say for this view. And then the next view, let's see what that looks like. Farmers, awesome. This is done well too. Titles are there, labels are there, charts are clean, good charts are chosen. I think the progression is really neat. It gives the overview and then it breaks out into the crops and the farmers and just the charts, the layout. That's all good. You mind scrolling down? I think I see some caught off here.
For some reason, it's not allowing me to scroll. Let me do that again. Okay, cool.
Okay, yeah, no, so I think that's it for me. I think it's really done well. The one nitpicky thing is it seems like the scores might be floating, and so the alignment and spacing between them isn't balanced. So I would say maybe consider using containers to help with that and just use padding so that it's evenly spaced all around. But other than that, I think this is a really great dashboard. I love the single color look. It goes with the team and it actually gives a lot of the information required. I think this is really well done. Great job. What do you think?
Yeah, I think definitely I agree. It feels very clean. There's a clear layout. And I think having the context of this is meant to show impact, I just love that there's an introduction talking specifically about, the company and then what they do, where they are based in India. And it is just like a nice introduction. It is a lot of context, or at least some context to kind of introduce you. And it also seems like they put the link for the initiative or like the company as well, which I think is always a nice call to action to learn more, like to kind of read more about what you do. But like I think everything that you've said is nice. If I were just to nitpick, I would say that typically I think it's nice to have some consistency. I think similar to the labels, the bar charts or the bars have different like kind of height. Again, this is very nitpicky and annoying, but like this is kind of like slimmer and this has more space. This is different. And I think some consistency just gives a nice overall visual balance and just like trust that okay, this person has considered every single action on the dashboard. But again, that's very nitpicky. I'm also unsure what the colors mean. I'm looking at this chart here, number of seasons by location, and I don't know. So this is number of crop season and average season per greenhouse. But I don't really know like so the ones that are white. Oh, it looks like the ones that fall under the average. Okay, right. So now I can see that this like is actually like a reference line for the average, which could be a nice way to see like the location that are above average versus below. But I'll say maybe making that clear. Let me see if the tooltip actually does. Okay, so the tooltip lets you know that like you can drill down and click the button. Okay, there's even some nice interactions there. But yeah, I think maybe I'll just say maybe just a subtext or something tiny, or like even maybe on the like tooltip to say, okay, this is what the colors mean. But other than that, I think it's just the little things where like just the overall consistency, but this is a real well done dashboard. I also like that you start with an overview, but then you to get like a summary, but you can kind of go explore and like click into things, really understand and go into detail. Yeah, as much as possible. And I think you've covered every other thing. I was looking at this table here. I feel like this maybe there's like because this is just like a long list of like farmer ID, and I can see why it will be important since this is like a farmer view. So someone might want to understand, these metrics on a farmer level. But what I would say is that maybe add some filters here to help it easy, to make it easy for anyone that wants to navigate this table. So for example, if I was searching for a particular farmer's ID or like a particular year, etc., maybe some filtering there specific to this table. And I think with tables in general, if you have like a long list of rows, filters and like some sorting is always like helpful to help people to kind of navigate all that information. But yeah, other than that, I think clean work. Well done.
Nice.
Cool. All right. I am going to move on to the second V's that we have today. Let me see. So let me make this
Mhm.
big. This actually is, oh, did I click something? I feel like I did something there. Okay. This seems to be like a B2V Viz. For those that don't know, B2V B is Back to Viz Basics, which is a great initiative for people that are just kind of starting out in their visualization journey. I think every week they post like a challenge, like something that you're meant to do. And I don't know what the challenge for this week was, but just wanted to plug that out there for anyone like watching this that it's a great initiative and I'll definitely recommend if you're just starting out. Okay, what what is going on? I feel like every time I press the full screen, something just happens. Um, and I think what might be happening here is that they haven't fixed the width. You know how like in Tableau where you have like the layout, you can set the size,
Yeah.
the width, and the height. I'm
Mhm,
guessing here
mhm.
something is dynamic and it's not fixed. And I think maybe the first feedback will be if you have an idea of what you want your viz to look like, your dashboard to look like, I would recommend always having like a fixed size because then you can control how it renders on different screens. But if you kind of leave it to like different screens and like the dynamic thing, what then happens is things might look different. If you have floating objects, that might just completely like change the positioning of things, etc. So that's kind of like I guess the initial like feedback that I would say. But yeah, other than that, Let's see. I think the first thing that is jumping out to me that I just cannot like ignore is like the use of green and red. I feel like there's like um I'm trying to really understand. So it says like red is negative economic trend and green is positive economic trend, but I cannot see the negative or the positive in this chart, right? Everything just kind of seems to be going from 0 to 50%. So this is, it says, what trend do you see shaping economic future the most? So I'm reading this as like all of this shape economic future, but then maybe inequalities at the top and like wider support at the bottom. But then the color or the legend here is telling me a different story that some are shaping it positively or negatively. And what I would say is that I would expect this to kind of the ones that are negative to kind of be on the left side of this 0 point so that it's negative. I feel like that's like the intuitive way to read this. Um, maybe you disagree, Chimdi, but I think that's like the one thing that is like standing out to me. And obviously, I mean, we can maybe touch a little bit on the use of color, because green and red again, just always thinking about accessibility and like some people might cannot see these colors together. But usually I say if you want to use green and red, then you have to have like an additional level of encoding. In this case, if the red were actually starting to the left of the chart of the zero axis, then even if I couldn't see the colors, I would know that like this is negative and this is positive. But unfortunately, they've not done that, and I've like this particular colors can also be confusing for some people. And so my recommendation would be to kind of think through if all of these are meant to be positive, and then what is the best way to show this positive slash negative like trend or contribution, and also think through the color. Um, I mean, I feel like none of I think this is meant to be like annotations. The only thing I'll say with this annotation is that keep things consistent. I see some of these are aligned to the right, some of these are aligned to the middle, some of these seems just to be floating around. It's always nice to be consistent. And this, I can't even tell which like bar it's related to. And I suspect that that might, okay. I was going to say, I suspect that might have to do with that dynamic sizing. So this is
Mm.
probably like a floating container. It makes sense when you, I guess, look at it on a small screen or the screen that the author probably like intended for this to be viewed on. But then when you start to have like a bigger screen or a smaller screen, then floating things kind of move around and things are not like tied the way they're meant to be, things are not linked properly together. So that's kind of like one more feedback that I would say. But yeah, Chimdi, what do you think?
Yeah, I think great feedback. Let me start with what I think works first, because
Yeah.
I can see what I
Well, I should have known that, but yeah, good job.
No,
Yeah,
no, no,
yeah, yeah.
that's totally fine.
Yeah.
That's totally fine. I think the point you raised was definitely one that was very glaring, so it made sense to focus on that.
Mhm.
So what I do like, I love the white background. It looks like this person has basically presented survey data. And to me, it's kind of cool to see that massive, bar just kind of there. You can see the percentages and the text there. So I think what I'm realizing actually, Zainab, is I think that the negative and
Mhm.
positive may not refer to the values, but more so the subject matter. So, for example, when you look at growth
Oh,
inequality, that's a negative, trend that's
I
happening. And then at the
see.
bottom, entrepreneurship, that's good. You want that.
Right.
So I think maybe a different set of
Trend threw me
complementary
off. I
colors.
think when I think
Yes.
trend, I just think about something going up or down. But that,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And I think that's why it's confusing. The red and green will make people assume that this is more
right,
about the
right,
values.
right.
But I think
Yeah.
maybe some like blue, yellow, blue,
Yes, you're
orange,
right.
purple,
You're
pink
right.
will kind of highlight that, oh, this is more this group and that group. So it's a categorical thing as opposed to
Right, right. Yeah.
continuous. So I think different colors would definitely help with that. But the chart itself, I think is effective and it highlights those percentages really well. Then on the left-hand side, though, again, the white background presented such an opportunity. The black text could have stood out. Looking at the content of that information, it seems like that's supposed to provide a summary about some of the stuff. So I would say just put it in one text box, left align everything, make it easier to read. And
Yeah.
then just, you have the bar beside it to kind of follow on the overall thing. So in general, I think all the text should just be left aligned. I agree with you,
Right.
Zainab, in that the way it's set up right now, you can still read it, but there is some room for improvement. So that's what I'd say. I love the charts. I love the layout and kind of the thought behind, title, summary and a chart, but I'd say utilize maybe spacing a bit better, and then your alignment should improve with the colors. Other than that, pretty good. If you can
Yeah.
improve those things, this can go to like from decent to amazing or to great.
Yeah. I should also say I'm not exactly sure I understand the width of the bars because so this goes from 0 to 50% and I'm seeing 48%. So there's like I mean I can understand like 48%, but there's the part that is deeper, like the deeper red and the deeper shades of green or red. Is that just like a stylistic choice? It seems
That's what
like it
it looked
is.
like to me. I've
Right,
done that before, so I recognized it. It's like you
right,
kind
I
of, I like the
see.
color. In my
Right.
case, I would have made the colors even lighter just so it focuses on the text and you can
Yeah,
still
maybe.
see the
Yeah.
bar. But I see what they're trying to do. Not
Right.
a bad concept at all. Not
Right.
bad.
Right. Okay. So
Good.
it's stylistic. Okay. It took me a
I
minute
think
to be
that's
like,
it. I think
okay,
so,
is
yeah.
that something? Yeah. Okay. That
Just to
makes
like highlight the colors more and like it's yeah, I kind of get it. It's
right.
not bad.
Right.
Not
Okay.
bad.
Okay.
Not bad. Not bad.
Nice.
Actually, it's pretty slick when you think about it. It's the person like that's not basic design stuff.
Yeah. I think I would make it slimmer because I think
Yeah,
now it's very prominent that it feels like a part of the chart.
agreed. Agreed.
But yeah,
Agreed.
I see it now. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
But very well done for B2B basics. I think it's still clean
yeah.
overall.
I
And I
love
feel
the
like you want
information. It's just clear to
yeah,
read. It's like this people, this many people think this many people think that. Yeah,
yeah.
dope. Awesome.
Cool. The third piece for today is this one. Let me make it bigger. All right,
Okay.
Chimdi, take it away. I need a moment to.
Aether, Aether sales performance. So I will say, first of all, again, just with the whole idea of what works, I like kind of the soft look of this. It looks really modern. One thing that stands out, which I think is good, which I usually wouldn't think is good. I'm not a fan of like pictures and things like that on business dashboards, but in this case, I think that just makes it obvious that Aether is a vehicle sales company
Yeah,
and this is about their sales. And
yeah,
so, you mind clicking on a car? That is fantastic. So when you click on the cars, it filters the dashboard for that vehicle. I think that's really well done.
yeah,
If I'm being nitpicky, um, so again, in addition to like the information itself, I think is amazing. You have the absolute values and then the context for, year over year, month over month, all of that stuff really packaged well, plus the target. This is all coherent for like a business car company. Now, the alignment, I think, is something that I would really work on and spacing. So the space between the
yeah,
tiles is
cool. Yeah,
uneven. And so what I would consider doing is maybe shrinking the size between the boxes and increasing the padding around the charts rather than having all the charts around the edges. That would lean in definitely to what this is going for, which I think is like a really premium modern vibe. I think that spacing would really push it deeply into that direction. But other than that, the final thing I think I may work to see differently is the filters seem like obstructing, so I may move them somewhere else. Like it feels a little awkward to me just there. But the good thing is it's very reachable and visible for the user. And so that's what I think overall. I think is really well done. Just a few things. The information I think is like, spot on. Sorry, this chart here, sales. Okay. Do you mind hovering at the bars, please?
the bars.
Okay, so one thing I do notice, it looks like the horizontal axis is like days of the week, and vertical axis is like the week
Week.
itself. I would
Yeah,
actually show those things on the axis so that your user is actually able to know right off the bat what they're looking at. But
yeah.
other than that, I'd say it's well done with the information. Layout is thought out really well. The design elements are done greatly. Coloring is definitely, I like the light theme there. But other than just few movements around and spacing things, I think this is good. This is good. What do you think?
Yeah, I really actually kind of like the cars. I kind of like it because typically I also like stay away from image, but I think it just works here.
It
It's
works
very
here,
clear.
exactly.
It just
Yeah.
immediately makes you know what you're looking at. And so I really like that. I think you've covered most of the themes. What I would say is that I mean obviously this is a well designed like there's a lot of design thoughts that went into this. They probably like, created the background or like, I can see a lot of rounded borders and like maybe they did this in like an external tool like Figma or something. So I can see a lot of thoughts that are gone has gone into this. I would say though, looking at the tooltip, I feel like a bit more love could have been paid to that. So right now I see is percentage of total amount along table across. That's just the default, I guess, term when you're like doing your table calculations. So maybe just cleaning that up to say like share of channel, sorry, share of sales from this channel, something like that. Just like cleaning up the tooltip and then also removing the zero, it means nothing. And I would say like that's like a theme across, this V's. Like for example, maybe we don't even need to show the tooltip here on the big numbers. And just like I think a bit more cleanup, I think will be helpful. What else? I am not this is a personal choice. I'm not the biggest fan of the diverging kind of background
Mhm.
within the chat. I
Oh yeah,
feel
there's a
like if
shadows thing.
they wanted to keep, I mean, I think people should have like individual like design styles and everything. Maybe not dive like maybe not from white to black because I feel like we have such a soft color, maybe white to something way like that that is just not dark and feels gray towards the end of the background. But again, this is just like a tiny thing, personal like choice that I wouldn't maybe just like go for. But yeah, other than that, I think it's clean and it's a very specific design style, which I'm not mad at. Yeah.
Yeah, this actually something that kind of stands out. So someone who her work is kind of really sticking with me. She
Mhm.
does some of the things I see are like Shreya, like David
Yeah.
Bowie. Like some of these soft tones, shadows, and
Yes.
like things like
Yes.
that. I feel
Yeah.
like this is kind of going in that direction. And
That's
I'll be
true.
honest, I hated this before until she started doing it. I'm like, man, she's really just changed my mind about this whole thing. And like you can see how she just does that effectively. So I think this person might have been trying to incorporate some of those like, the soft glows and the shadow,
Yeah.
whatever. But of course, there's always room to improve. But I mean, overall, it's not a bad dashboard. I
Yeah.
think it's a good dashboard actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this a lot. I like this.
Okay, I think we have three more. I don't know how much we'll be able to cover, but let's see. All right. We're looking at the V's. Actually, let me see the author, Jonathon, by Jonathon. Uh, what do you think?
This is interesting. I actually saw this, I think when it was posted in the feedback channel, I just clicked into it. So the first thing I thought when I saw that was I can tell that, there's a lot of great information here. What I think the first thing to look into would be how are we drawing people's attention to the different charts, right? So it looks like there's a lot of stuff there. I like the map, it's cool. But again, you have a small chart there, a chart there. So I'd say some titles and a bit more separation between the chart will help the flow of understanding because right now it looks like more of like a data dump almost. So there is good information, but I'd say organization is key. Do you mind hovering on the map, please? I saw something interesting there. Okay. So this, what is this? So time of day and right.
Day of the week.
I think this information, because of the context of the viz, that maybe should not be in a tooltip, but I
Mm,
get why it's there. Maybe put it off to the side, and then maybe when you click okay, the map does filter the chart. So I think that's really good because if you're in DC, then you want to know in your area what is the crime situation looking like, what is the weather impact. And so I like that the location, which is the map, filters that. But I'd say again, just thinking through like what are the charts trying to tell us and how do you want us to understand this? Because we can see, okay, these are the total number of crimes. It's broken out.
yeah.
But then again, I'll start to ask more questions like, what's the difference between other theft, theft and fraud. How is auto different from vehicle? Those little things there, or maybe do they need to be combined into one category? That sort of thinking through like the information part of things is what I would do more for this. Color wise, I won't say too much other than I see two legends, but one map. And so I don't know how that's been combined because one looks like a percentage and one looks like an absolute number. So these kinds of things I think can occupy someone's time in trying to think about it. And so maybe some extra context and then just more clarity with the layout, I think is probably the biggest one for this is it's not necessarily easy to follow the information. And so just think about how do we want to show this stuff? What do you think?
Yes, I completely agree. I think that I see what they've tried to do. I actually think there's a lot of interesting things and like insights here. And I'm also not mad at the choice of like charts, largely the map and the bar chart and then the line chart. But I think some layouts improvement will take this to like the next level. For example, this is one like chart. If I were to read this from the left to the right, make that easy to follow. But then we have the band, but then and then we have like this, we go into this pie chart that is kind of starting, at the top. I feel like the charts should kind of start on the same level. So maybe this band maybe can even like cut across as a mini heading and then like an intro for this section. And so the map section will also have its own intro. So I think there's just like so much to see and so much that is being shown that it makes it hard for you to figure out where to start from. So actually, it could be that you need to take out some things. So for example, do we need the pie chart if the story is already kind of covered in the bar chart? And we can just like put the 2% tooltip. Um, that's something that I will think about. But also, I feel like there's so much information hidden and buried within the tooltip that
Yeah.
I feel like if this has to be a longer viz or a wider viz, then so be it. At least you have a justification for why. But if I were looking at this, like if I don't know, I click on a particular like region, and then I wanted to just interact with a particular like hour of the day or week, I can't really do that with tooltip. It's really hindering that like further exploration. So I would suggest like maybe that is part of like the visit itself. It could be a case of you have like a dynamic what's it called, like when you have dynamic zone where if you click
Mhm.
into like a state, then it reveals something, it
Show
reveals
on
charts to
command.
the side. And then at least that way maybe you are controlling the amount of information that is being showed up front. But I think again, same thing with the bar chart, like you have a whole scatter plot that is meant to like show you the relationship between crime and weather impacts, which seems very, very important because the title of this video is like, we are comparing crime to weather. I think that the scatter plot is a fantastic way to show that relationship. It feels like it should be a part of the chart rather than being buried in the tooltip. So that's what I would say. I think there's a couple of, my suspicion is that the author probably just had a lot of ideas and like the data set
Hmm.
seems very rich and maybe they just
Yeah.
struggled on like what to filter out and how to kind of render the information. And so maybe just a bit more thought into that, I think would take this up a notch. Also, I mean, I can't say that
Those,
I'm the
mhm.
biggest fan of this icon. Oh, so there's
Oh,
even
those
more.
are button.
So
Oh, okay.
actually it goes more. So I mean,
There is
if
more.
this is
Those look like just fancy things. It
that
wasn't.
exactly what it looked like to me. I didn't know that I could click into it. But also, if they have opted to do like multiple views, for me, it's almost like a justification that they can, all the things that is being shown on the tooltip can be shown on the viz, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, it wasn't obvious to me that these were like buttons at all. So yeah, maybe again, making that a bit more clear. Um, yeah, will be helpful. But overall, I think the idea is there. I see that they
Yeah.
have a bit of storytelling thinking in terms of like the types of aggregate and like relationships they've tried to show here, but maybe just rendering the like maybe rendering and like thinking about the layout and like the amount of information being displayed is something that will help make this better.
Yeah, I think for this one, basically the two concepts that come to mind for improvement would be like layout, thinking through that, and then information hierarchy. What's more important?
Yeah,
Where do
exactly.
we fit,
That's
and
the
how do
word.
we flow through that? So those two things, I think there's a lot of great information here. Structuring that in a more helpful way, I think, would just blow this because this is some
Yeah.
juice.
Like even
This
this
is,
could be a chart on its own because it shows the seasonality, it
yeah.
shows the
It
trend,
could be
so
bigger
many
even.
things.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. But yeah, just thinking about what is the main thing that I want to show, or how do I want people to interact through this viz? Thanks,
yeah,
Kayla. Thanks for joining. See, how do I want people to interact through this viz, and how can I then, make that happen as easy as
yeah.
possible for them?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. I think that we will do just one more because I also will have to jump. So let's make this the
Hmm.
last one.
All right.
Um, oh, this looks fun. Okay, I don't even know what I'm looking at yet, but like
Birdie, birdie.
I just love the characters immediately, like instant love. All right. A journey through global plates. I feel like I think the title I like because it already tells me that this is like a storytelling format. Like it's a journey through, they are going to take us through a journey. It's a bit more exploratory. Now, I don't exactly know what I'm looking at yet. I see a lot of like icons and like these cartoon characters seem to be themed through. So let's see what we're looking at. So I think it's like food across the world. So
Mm.
we have hamburger for US, tacos for Mexico. So I'm guessing this is like their most popular meals. Okay, so welcome to my kitchen. Every flavor tells a story. Picture the live street of Mexico, the ancient rice paddies of blah blah blah. Join me as we explore their delicious journeys where tradition, taste, and trade, interesting,
Mm.
come together. So
Okay.
this is about the US, Mexico, and Italy. So just three
Okay.
countries. I'm
Okay.
not sure. I don't know why this is not scrolling. Let me see.
Oh, it looks like long form viz. I
Oh,
think it
there's
looks like okay.
there's
Yeah.
also China and Japan. Okay, right. So that's like a nice intro. And now we kind of go through origin of year. I would say though that like maybe these titles can be slightly bigger, so that it's clear that this is a new section that we are kind of going in through. Um, and so rice minus 150. So I don't know what the baseline is here. So by zero, if the year of origin is zero, but I'm not really sure. I'm not sure I know what that means because it seems like a baseline. So if the baseline is like
Mhm.
1900 or something, then I I think I would want to make that a bit more clear what that baseline is. And because 40 is not the year of origin, or maybe it's 40 AD, so it's before BC AD. I don't know, but I would want to make that clear so that we know what is being looked at here. I mean, nice, a bit more context. Um, okay, food gives happiness, couple of ratings. I personally don't know if I love this rating style because what I'm seeing is there's 5 stars and there's 4 star, but they have almost the same kind of width because I guess noodles, the text length and everything has been considered. If I wanted to make this a data visualization, then I want a visual summary. I think they could still use the stars, but make it like obvious. I mean, to be fair, they only have 5 categories, so maybe the user can just like read through. But I don't know. I don't know how. I feel like maybe an actual chat could have also helped there. Overall, it seems like there's a lot here. I just think it's playful, it's whimsical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this the right chat type? I don't know. Percentage of carbohydrates. I'm not sure if this like circle or dot plot circle chart is the right way to show composition. You're showing composition of carb, protein, and fat. I feel like they could be like maybe a stacked bar, maybe even a pie chart could have worked here, depending on how they implement that. So I feel like, yeah, maybe the choice of charts here could be better. And but yeah, I feel like this is very like exploratory. You could spend time. It's fun in its own way, and it adds some context. It also seems like a personal project, which it's just fun. But yeah, I think those little things like what is the year of origin, what is the baseline, maybe this chart type could be different since you're showing composition.
Mhm.
And yeah, what do you think, Chimdi?
Actually, I know. I think I agree on the fun part. It's something like, the first thing I see, the title, actually it draws you in, a little journey through
Yeah,
global play. So that's really good. Um, the one thing that really stands out to me is there's so cute, like the icon, the
yeah,
chef lady. She's
yeah,
fantastic. I would think about, is it worth giving that much real estate to something that provides zero value and
right,
information
right.
here? Right? So that's one thing I'll think about, but it does look cute, right? The second thing I would say is the text alignment. I think that's a really impactful thing that makes things easier to read and consume.
Right.
And so rather than center aligning everything, consider left alignment to align with how people naturally read,
Yeah.
left to right. That would really help this land well. And I think, I like the progression in terms of,
Yeah.
this,
Storytelling. Yeah.
that. Two things I would consider with that as well. If we're showing stuff and we are not 1000% sure on how to land it, maybe check out a visual vocabulary to see, with my context that I want to put out there, is there a best, most effective way? And then do that. And then finally,
Sorry, I was
obviously,
gonna search for the visual vocabulary, but anyway, yes, you're right.
right.
Done.
Yeah, and the other thing I would say is just it looks like there's a lot of space just around, right? And so, people need to flow through. I think this can be a little bit smaller and more compact
Yeah.
in a way that makes it easy to
Like
just
this
kind
is
of
so
jump
long,
in.
for example, and I don't know that this
Yeah.
map should take up this much space considering there's not much information on it. So yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. But overall, I think it's like I like the intent behind it. I like how, they've kind of run through those things and they made it into like I think it still engages you.
Yeah.
The question I would ask is, does it also inform you, right?
Mm,
So that's where I would try to find that balance between grabbing attention. And now that you have that attention, what are you feeding that attention, right? So
yeah.
for this one, again, layout, structure, sizing, coloring, charts, like just like kind of like the basics, I would say. Apply a bit of thinking through those basic things. The information itself, I think, is solid. And what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've said what I thought, and I think you've also hit good points that
Yeah.
I
All
think.
right. Yeah, you went first.
Yeah, I
That's
went first, but I think it's a really good note to also
yeah,
end on to say that like if something should be engaging and informing. I think
yeah,
we've seen some examples where there's a lot of information and it's informing, but it's engaging and hard for the user to kind of follow the story. Here, I think they've captured the reverse where it's like kind of engaging, it's whimsical, it makes you want to follow through, but
yeah,
it's a bit hard to find what the actual information is. And
yeah.
so I think that's a fantastic note. And I think this is the last one that we'll cover for today. So yeah, I think thank you for joining. Thanks, John and Kayla, and everyone that is going to watch this as well. We will do this again in 2 weeks. Thank you. We'll do this again
Thanks,
in two
everyone.
weeks, and we will try to put this recording as well on YouTube. So yeah, thank you, and see you all soon.
Cheers.
Let me stop sharing.